Alright, what's up guys? Today I got a little matchup primer. This is a Nago matchup guide, kind of go in depth how to deal with the Zato. It's a pretty controversial matchup, you know, people like Latif been saying this is like 7-3, 8-2. That's definitely cap. It's more like, you know, 5.5 to 4.5, 6-4 at most, maybe even. But yeah, I think it could definitely be Zato favored, but it is harder to play than people would have you believe. You're right, it's definitely not free. So we're going to kind of break it down in depth here. I don't have a script or anything. This is kind of just going to be some ramblings. But here we go. So it's all going to start with round start, right? So there's two common options Nagos are going to do. Number one, we have this DP move. We can do it 2 hits or just 1. And then he can go into other moves from it, right? He can special cancel. So if you choose jump around start, this is gonna like catch your jump in the air, but you could still block it. It basically, he's super plus and he jails you into the ground, and you have to block the string that comes next. So you're not hit by any means, but you are in his string. And then the other option is, I actually don't know the input for this move. It is Beyblade. I don't know what it's really called. It's one of these. Nope. Yeah. Nope. Nope. Jesus. There we go. Ha! It's this. It is Beyblade. So this is gonna catch backdash, obviously, right? It goes. I mean, yeah, that's catching backdash round start. But you know, in the way that kind of natural RPS works, backdash obviously will dodge this and leave him pretty minus. So if he does that, you can kind of backdash to get Pierce going. And if he does Beyblade, obviously jump will avoid that, right? So you can clearly jump over that, come down with a punish, get started, or just kind of fly out and get yourself some neutral space. And then he could do other things as well, like, you know, he could slash, he could do kick. I wouldn't recommend challenging with a button around start just because of how much you can get exploded if he does do a special. Like, if you get a hard read on him, you could start by doing, you know, something like that. But I wouldn't recommend it. It's pretty risky. So the two options around start are basically either you're get out, you're free, or you're blocking. So if you're blocking, I don't have much Nago expertise here, so I'm not going to be able to put on some great block strings. But, I mean, aside from command grab here, command grab, what is it, man? Input? Command grab, there's how much he's mixing you up with, right? It's just a lot of continued pressure that's kind of goading you into mashing. So when you do mash, you'll eat like 80% of a counter hit. So we don't want that happening. We don't want to die off a single interaction, which definitely can happen. We don't want that to happen. So there's a couple ways we can defend that. Firstly, when Nago does this, he could also do this. Oh, he could also do this. And that's basically a 50-50. If you FD the far slashes, you can fuzzy jump it and make that not a threat. So FDing when he does this is a far slash. Sorry. These are far slashes. FDing those is almost essential to limit the mix-up afterwards. Of course, he could do special cancels, right? He could do whatever he wants afterwards. But you basically have to FD them to stop the threat of command grab, because if he hits command grab, that decreases all of his blood, and he basically wins the round, right? Like, Nago destroys Zato with specials, but once he's at high blood, he can't really do anything to you. So getting that grab off means he's back at low blood, and he's just dealt you, presumably, a mix-up in damage, so he's kind of won at that point. So you really don't want that to happen. Obviously, you can't react to command grab, right? It's an unreactable move, but you could kind of predict when he wants to do it, right? Like high blood, you know, if he's about to burst and he has one mix-up, you could pretty safely be fuzzy jumping and expect that he has no choice but to grab. And, you know, at low blood is kind of when command grab is scary, but even then, like, if he hasn't done much beforehand, then whatever, it's like, it's not a huge deal. If you get command grabbed at low blood, then it's not the end of the world. but still try to be fuzzy jumping whenever you can, right? Like if he's knocked you down, somehow, I don't know if this is something Nagos do, but if he's got this and he comes up like that, you could still fuzzy jump to avoid the close slash as well. So that's something you want to be doing basically whenever you can. Fuzzy jumping to air block the close slash and avoid the command grab. That's really strong. Other things on defense is just be patient, right? Like his strings will come to an end. He has a finite amount of blood he can use, so you're going to want to kind of just wait him out. He could do a lot of stuff, still not blocking. He could do a lot of stuff as long as he has blood. But like I said earlier, like this isn't a mix-up, right? This is just pressure that's going to build your risk to make you want to mash, right? You're like, oh, I can mash here. No, Beyblade counter it, you just die. So you really want to like hold strong, FD out, wait for a good gap. He will eventually have to be spaced out, but it's not over here, right? Like let's say he's high blood, he's out right here. You don't just get to fly out, because he could do stuff like this. He could do one YOLO move, right? You still have to be patient. Flying out can be good. I wouldn't recommend it just because he has so many good anti-airs like that. Like this, it's a really good anti-air for whatever reason. 2H is ridiculous, right? So it's not like you could just jump in on him for free. And he can also kind of, I don't know if you see Nagos do this. They'll do this a lot, like stall with this move and catch out of the air, or just stand back and wait for you to come in like this. So you have to be patient, wait for your good gap. Stuff like Fukyo forward, this is jabbable, right? If he does this in a block string or a neutral, you can jab him when he comes up. If you're really with it, you can try and throw him, but yeah, this is a point where you should not be letting him overextend. But again, like he could Fukyo back, and then I think what they do is like that to try to punish you jabbing with Fukyo forward. So just again, be careful, mash out if you can, but don't try to be too happy with it because he can blow you up for that. But the game plan on defense is basically block him out as much as possible, jab at an obvious overextension, but just take your time and get out as safely as you can, because here's the thing, right? Even if you have to block round start, if he does a string and you survive, he's at very high blood, in which you could get the neutral game plan starting. We'll talk about that later. But if he's at high blood and neutral, you kind of get to run the game. So that's the end goal, right? Okay, so let's talk about if we're on offense to start. Let's say he's either messed up on a block string and we're on the offensive side early, or we win the round start guess. What I would kind of do, since his health is so big, rather than go for, rather than go for like a mix-up, like something basic like this, like, alright, so we've hit him, we do a little bit of damage, and now I'm in his face with no Eddie. I have to end it like that, and he can just Beyblade in for free, and now I'm blocking, right? So I don't totally think little strings like that are worth it, just because let's think about the risk reward. Even on hit, I'm going to have no Eddie, I'm in his face, I've kind of reversed all my neutral progress by letting him get right on top of me, and then I have no Eddie again, so he can just either kind of chance it with a mash and explode me, or just get out of the one solo string I have afterwards. So I don't think doing these little mid-screen strings are worth it. What I would rather do is something like, say I get a pierce off, you could do something, hold on, you could do something like this, and then get your Eddie pressure going. So the main idea here is focusing on continuous pressure and lockdown, instead of like a mix-up per se, right? Because his health is so big that a mix-up hit, not much is going to change afterwards, and you're just in his face with no Eddie, kind of giving him what he wants to get back on top of you, give him another chance. You don't want to give him another chance, right? Once you get Nago blocking, you want to keep it that way. So I recommend doing corner carry, a lot of just lockdown, keeping Eddie refreshed. There's a couple ways to do this, right? I just showed one here, which is kind of like off a pierce string. You could do this to send them out. You could also do something like this, off a traditional sandwich to resummon. That's pretty risky, right? I mean, you're leaving him with a big gap in your face. So you kind of got to know the Nago's habits. You could also do something like this. Well, a little safer, right? But the main idea, again, neutral, control, and lockdown over just getting hits of mix-up. And if you kind of repeat the cycle enough, you'll be able to get him into a pretty positive position by the end, right? Like, in the corner here, his defense isn't great. His jabs are kind of slow. He doesn't have traditional dashes or jumps, so he's not very good at dealing with eddy pressure, especially stuff like this, right? If you get this opposed RPS going, where you kind of mix up between 2K, 2D to catch jumps, and then throw as sorry, jeez, as well as command throw. Those are your main options. He's pretty susceptible to that, right? Nago's jabs aren't the best. He doesn't have traditional dashes to like backdash, dash block out the way, so that stuff's really good for him. As well as just, you know, running your normal pressure, whatever that may be. He's not very good at contesting it, so a lot of this stuff is going to work on him. As well as, like, you know, just normal 5 dots is good, right? But then again, kind of like I said earlier, you're kind of wasting your eddy string just to get a mix-up hit. It was up to you, based on the scenario, if that's something you want to do. If you have the health and meter lead, then it's okay to waste your eddy, kind of doing a string like this, where you're wasting all of them just to get the hit, especially if you have meter, right? Because neutral is a situation in which you're in the lead, so if you want a wall break, that's fine, especially if you do so with the sword super to apply some pressure off the get-go. But it's also okay to do something like this, right? Where you are kind of sacrificing the wall break to get reapplied pressure. I think that's really good as well. It's kind of up to you on offense to choose between going for the wall break or continued pressure. In the corner, it's a little different, right? Like mid-screen, as I said earlier, I'll take the lockdown over damage any day. But in the corner, like a wall break scenario is pretty positive for you, even without sword super, just because resetting to neutral where you win, as well as having positive bonus, that's pretty good. So it's kind of up to you based on that. But mid-screen, the strings you're going to want to be going for is a lot of pierce stuff, right? So normally, most characters will be able to jab the pierce gap, and Nago can't, right? So I'm not going to be able to record it here, but he can obviously jab this gap with 2P. But the thing is, it's slower and more recovery, and he obviously doesn't have a backdash, right? Or, I'm sorry, he does have a backdash. He doesn't have a forward dash. So he's not going to be able to like dash block it like other characters. He's not going to be able to like quickly jump out of it like other characters. So he's not great at disrespecting Pierce. If he wants to like jab and Beyblade in, you could do, and then counter hit him whenever he comes in. And as well as obviously, you know, if he's jabbing Pierce, send behind him and his jab will whiff. He can't do the usual backdash OS like other characters. So in general, like, it's pretty strong to run any pressure on him. It's pretty strong to run any pressure running at a Pierce just because of how little options he has to go against it. And you'll see a lot of Nagos end up just holding the Pierce gap, right? Like, this isn't a true string, but there's not much you can do about it. Especially once you show that you're willing to do this, right? Once you show a pose, and if they like Beyblade in and you destroy them, likelihood is they're not doing it again, which grants you the opportunity to go for more fake stuff. So generally, right, we focus on corner carry. Pierce clap cancels are good for that, as well as just like stuff like this. Excuse me. Strings like that, where you're kind of sending Eddie out, ending with Drunken Shade drills. That stuff's good. So that's like what you do in offense, right? Kind of run your neutral game plan, keep him locked down, keep Eddie refreshed. In a certain scenario where it's good to go for the mix-up or go for the wall break, do that, but generally you want to have him contained at all times if possible. So that's your offensive strategy. We're going to talk about neutral now. So low blood, he has access to all his specials, right? He can do dumb stuff like that. He can Beyblade in whenever he wants. So Clone Fukyo, which is that, combos on hit. Let me just show this real quick. I'm not the best at it, but I should be able to do it. Okay, if I don't get it here, I'll just give up, but there we go. So that combos into the slashes in neutral. It'll work from farther as well. So it's basically like a free in for him, and that kills every single Eddie special except for oppose, obviously, right? It'll beat invite hell, it'll beat all your normals. It beats literally everything you can do that is not oppose. So at lower blood levels, where he could just do that in recklessly, literally you can only use oppose. Like, there's nothing else you could do, because he could just, as well as like, you know, double Fukyo in and punish you, or like I just showed earlier, clone Fukyo and he's in. So you really have to be vigilant with your Eddie, and this is kind of how it goes, right? If you're full screen, you're obviously safe to set up a pose. Let's say he comes in here, right? You get a big counter hit, or something like this, and you start your Eddie pressure, whatever, right? But what he's going to be targeting is your unsummons. So what you kind of want to do is, let's say you have an oppose here, right? That's going to run your Eddie meter. Now you're at a disadvantage. So you're going to want to unsummon. What he could do is he could try to approach during that unsummon. So instead of just unsummoning right after oppose, we could be doing stuff like this, right? To kind of discourage that. And once you do that enough, right? Like if he has come after you here, you clap oppose, big counter hit, he eats like 50%, he's going to stop doing that, which gives you more space to safely unsummon, as well as you could kind of unsummon behind lingering drills. As I said, he can beat it with clones, so it's a little more risky, but it's kind of a lot about establishing patterns, mixing those up, finding where a Nago is going to come in, and bringing yourself some safety to unsummon. Because if you do this, right, that's like a 50-50 in a way. It's a 50-50 between unsummon and reapply versus double oppose, and you get your shit going from here. So that's what you want to do at low blood. Almost nothing else. Like, I'm not exaggerating when I say oppose is the only thing that works. But after that, you kind of get access to your free range of whatever the hell you want. Because when he's at high blood, he can't just, like, look at... This takes... doesn't take much, but the double Fukyos and stuff, like, that adds up, right? Especially if he's getting a string when he comes in. Or let's say he's just done a string. He's going to be at high blood where you can't afford to do those neutral combinations. So that gives you more freedom to just do whatever you want. Lock him down. Again, like you would any zone character. You just want to run your Eddie. You don't want to flowchart too much, right? Keep it unpredictable. Use various combinations of Eddie. But in the end, stuff, I guess I can kind of give some flowcharting. Stuff like Pierce is pretty good to start, but you want to keep out of his range, right? Like, he could swat Eddie with these, so just be careful playing Pierce too closely, because if you run it like right here, he could obviously smack it. So you're kind of going to want to put Pierce like, let me see, like right here-ish, right? Like right out of his range. You could clap cancel into something. You could clap cancel into a pose, get him to swing. Hold on, let me adjust my eye here. You could do this to get him to swing and then punish Frog, right? Drunkard Frog, it's a true punish on with 5H at high blood, so you could do that. Basically what you want to do again is just establish patterns and keep your unsummon times unpredictable, right? Because he could still, like his jump, his super jump, it's like covers a lot of distance, right? It's slow, but he could get in from pretty far with that, as well as like a YOLO double Fukyo, even if it thinks he's gonna pop, like he can get in on you. So again, you just want to make your unsummons unpredictable, right? If you unsummon behind drills, I'm pretty sure everybody knows this, but the drills linger on screen after you unsummon. So this is really good to be able to do, to be able to send one of these in and just unsummon. Even if your string's about to die, like look, I have no Eddie left, you could still drunkard shade of drills and it's gonna be fine. So that's a good place to do it. Other things like, you know, like this, oppose in his face to get him to freeze, then unsummon, or stuff like, you know, one drill unsummon, sorry, one pierce unsummon, or one hit a frog unsummon. You know, various things like that. There's plenty of ways for you to unsummon. I'm not going to teach you how to play neutral, but you want to just keep him locked down, keep him guessing. Don't get too flowcharty, don't get too predictable. Mix up your timings, and eventually, like, you will wear him down. Either A, he's going to do something dumb, or B, you've got him here to the point where, oh shit, like, you have a real mix-up, right, and then you're hitting him, and you're just running Eddie offense. Keeping the unsummon unpredictable is probably the biggest thing I could say, because even if you zone him for 20 minutes, if he gets in on you one time with like a 5H, Fukyo 5H, that's like literally 50% on Zato. So that's why I think this matchup is not as easy as people say. Like, yes, you can very much so lock him down neutral-wise, but if he gets in off a singular mistake, like, you just auto-lose. So you gotta be really perfect about that. I recommend a lot of K. It's probably the best thing to do against High Blood Nago, just because of how much you could spam it and how much block stun and corner push it has, so that's really strong. The last thing to talk about is kind of just some miscellaneous notes, right? So stuff that I recommend doing against him, like more niche stuff. I kind of talked about this earlier, but running mix-ups out of a pose is really strong. Just because of his limited movement options, he's not great at getting out of it, right? Like, excuse me, other characters can jump, dash, backdash, dash block, mash out of this, and kind of nullify its strength. This is a really good mix-up, not so much mid-screen, but in the corner off like release a pose, it's really strong. Nago is not good at dealing with it, so really abuse that, because if they always want to try to like mash specials, so for that you can counter hit him with 2H. I'll just show a little combo flex real quick. But if you explode him with 2H, like, that wasn't perfect. But if he tries to be specialing you like that, you can just destroy him for that. So eventually they're gonna start taking the throws, taking the grabs. I think command grab, Damn Fang is really good, right? You get a fair chunk of damage. You get to reset your Eddy, right? As I said earlier, continual lockdown is really, really strong. So getting that mid-screen is really good. And you don't want to be running it in the obvious places, right? Like a floor 10 player, you may do something like this. Like, yeah, your Eddy's out. What else am I going to do? Obviously, command grab. That's pretty predictable. It's pretty easy to punish. So it's really strong in places like... Okay, that was too far. Something like this. Like, everybody's expecting you to run pressure from here. So the command grab there is really strong. I just showed earlier double pierce. You can kind of do it after K as well. It's a little harder just because of the block stun. But you could do it there as well. So going for command grab with Eddy meter, I can't stress that enough. Have Eddy meter when you do command grab, right? Everybody knows that command grab replenishes Eddy meter, so they know you want to do it when your Eddy meter is low or gone. So do it early. It's really hard to deal with. And if you have Eddy meter left, right? If you whiff command grab, if you whiff command grab, frog comes out, right? So like, do something like this. Frog's gonna come out and punish them trying to jump out, and you can even get another mix on them potentially. So command grab is really good. That's the other thing. Command grab is really good. Use it a lot. Once they start trying to play around it, like if you do this a lot, that gets you free 2K 2D, right? Like they're trying to tweak on 2K delay, looking for the grab. You just get free 2K 2D where you can set up your Eddy and do whatever. So command grab, again, really strong. Setting up the mix of about command grab is really strong. Like you get a dash 5P command grab, they'll start messing up, so you could do something like that. So command grab, really good. Another thing that's good, and I kind of talked about this earlier, how about you don't want to fly just because it's anti-airs, but if you could fly like in a defensive manner, and he's at high blood, like he can't traverse the screen very well without specials. So like if you're in a situation like this and you just need to get the hell out, like that's really good. Even just floating is really good, and floating without coming down with the button, because they always want to try to 2H anti-air, like close slash anti-air. There's something like this, right? Backdash P, underrated movement technique. It's pretty good to get out of situations. Like flying can be good, you just have to use it sparingly and use it defensively. Like rarely are you going to be flying as an approach. I don't recommend that, just because of his defensive counters to flying is pretty good, but flying as like a kind of just a neutral tactic can be decent as well. And if he whiffs the special move, obviously you can get a JH and get your shit going like that. But that's the second thing. The last thing is just like, you need patience. You absolutely need patience in every way. You need patience on defense. You need patience on offense. Like the number one way I think I lose to Nago is probably just trying to run in, right? Like you get tired of zoning, you try to just go in, you kind of YOLO, and then he blows up your string and you just lose. And that hurts. That really hurts, especially if you're working like a majority of the round in your favor against him, and he does like one little punish and you just lose. That really hurts. You kind of feel like, wow, I just didn't even get outplayed and I lost. That's the worst way to go against a Nago player. So you really want to minimize that by just maintaining the zoning, right? Like be patient. An opening will come, whether it's him messing up or you just gradually, slowly, gradually pushing him to the corner until he has nowhere to go but forward, and then you'll hit him there, or you'll just get a mix-up going. Another strong thing, like everybody knows this is strong, but like if you could gold burst and get sword pressure like this, he's in the corner. That's really good. It's really good off a wall break as well. I recommend wall breaking with Sun Void every time if you can, unless you have Eddie, just because that neutral pressure, like not only are you getting wall break and positive bonus and big damage, but you're getting continued lockdown with the neutral resets. That's just really good for you in every way. So I really recommend doing that. But yeah, I don't have too much to say. Kind of been rambling for a while now, so let me just check real quick about some other notes before I forget anything. Oh yeah, so one thing you want to pay attention to is like, it's easy to kind of back yourself into a corner against Nago, right? Like if you do this, he's kind of getting closer, you like start backing up and summoning. That's bad. You don't want to give up space. Like when you zone, accomplish something. Don't just back up and keep him away. Like I found myself doing this a lot. It's a really bad habit. Like I'll apply Eddie, he gets a little close, like I'll get scared, put up a pose, something like that, and then I'm just losing space. I'm just getting myself closer and closer to the corner where I don't want to be. He can destroy me there. So when you zone, don't just zone for the sake of zoning. Like accomplish something, right? Don't just lock him down with K, right? Like if you do this over and over, or even like this, sorry, like this is not really getting you anything. It's making him impatient, sure, but you're not accomplishing anything with that. You want to make sure you're like getting a little forward at least, like gaining some ground, gaining some like mental stack or conditioning advantage. Like you want to gain something when you zone. You don't want to just be zoning for the sake of zoning, because eventually it's probably going to fall down against your favor. He's going to just be able to do some dumb shit and win the round. So you really want to accomplish something, because he has the higher health than you. He could probably starve you out better than you can starve him out, right? Like granted, the way most matches go is like you get in a block string early, I survive, taking like a decent amount of health or chip, and now we're neutral, he's at high blood. Like he's fine just waiting. He'll win the round if it's a tie due to the health lead. So you do kind of have to do something, which is why this matchup is so hard, right? Like you want to run in and win when you're down, but doing that's just going to get you killed as well. So you just have to mix up your neutral with patience, right? And a lot of it's just reads. So you could accomplish, like I said, zoning by just slowly, gradually unsummoning, reapplying, and slowly taking space. That certainly can happen. It's not fast, it's not easy, but it can happen. A good way to do it though is get some punishes on him, right? Like if you see, okay, every time I drunkard Pierce, he swings with 5H. So now I'm going to do this, get some space like that, or now I'm going to do this, and now I'm going to do this and drunkard frog punish, right? Stuff like that. Or maybe he's been jumping after Pierce every time in neutral. Well, get that. Hold on, let's see. If he jumps every time after Pierce in neutral, whoa, look at that. Big combo. Right? So picking up their little habits in neutral is going to be really good as well. It's not a necessity. You don't need to do that, but it can only help you out in neutral. So that's basically everything I have to say. Yeah, hopefully this isn't too long. I don't think I'm really going to edit this. If anyone made it to the end of this video, I appreciate you. Might be more of this on the way. I don't feel comfortable enough with every matchup to do something like this, but I definitely have a couple more in mind and more that I plan to do. So yeah, thanks.